Okay, so for those listening to this podcast, this Bumbling Cinema podcast, my name is Julius, and I'm here with Brian and Miles. We tried to do this on video with a whole lighting setup, a whole camera thing, but something's going on, so it was a first test drive. I'll incorporate the footage into the podcast for you guys to listen to. What's happening, everybody? My name is Julius, and I'm here once again for another podcast, but this is different because there are actual visuals. There's a whole lighting setup. A whole crew, kind of, is here. And we are here because it is a very special day. Not only is it the 4th of July, where we have to celebrate our patriotism and our immediate downfall as a society, we have to talk about X month. This is the month of the mutants. Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out later this month, and we are going to have a great time seeing it. I think everyone in this room is going to see it the same day, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But here we are doing a podcast celebrating the XMen franchise from the get-go, from the very first time in 2000, 24 years ago, when we saw the mutants live action, in action. I am here with many people, many great guests, many look entranced right now, and you'll see them in a second. Get ready to do the da-na-na-na-na-na. All right, I'm here with Mr. Brian. I'm here with Brian and Miles right now, and you'll see the other people in a little bit as we talk about the films. But Brian and Miles, how are you?
We're good.
Can you guys speak up a little bit?
Yes.
And Miles, why don't you tuck in with Brian a little bit?
Yeah, come up in here.
Yeah, you're in frame. It's a little scary right now.
Oh God.
I love it.
It looks juicy right now.
Guys,
Oh,
hey, happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, Jules.
How do you guys feel about the country right
Happy
now?
American. Well, I like it. It's pretty funny.
You can.
It might go up in flames, but
At least we're doing an X-Men podcast talking about minorities in society. This is going to be a very political podcast. I'm surprised Sebastian is not here to bring the political vibe. But he doesn't know shit about the X-Men.
No, nothing. No.
Yeah. What does he know about comic books? He hates Batman.
Yeah. He hates walking.
Walking.
I wouldn't believe in anyone who hates walking.
Well,
it's like Santa Claus.
Walking is equivalent to Santa Claus.
He sure does know a hell of a lot about comic.
Or like Margaret Thatcher, you know?
So guys, tell me your history with the X-Men as characters, as a team. Because there are comic books, there are films, there are the cartoons and everything. What's your guys' history with it?
I mean, what was the first thing I remember? I don't remember X1, like the movie X1 as much. I remember X2 a lot better for some reason. But I just remember...
It was Mystique.
Mystique.
I remember Mystique really well.
I remember her. She was my first goth baddie.
No, that's his. No, I remember Hugh Jackman being the predominant guy about being Wolverine and everything like that. Very classic. We all I already knew
Did seeing Hugh Jackman in the first film shirtless awaken anything in you?
Not.
Because it did for me.
Hey, we have confirmation from Crystal that it did, so we're gonna take that as a primary source.
No. Also the video game. One of the
Which one?
X-Men Apocalypse.
Yes.
It was
the Legends games,
the Legends,
right?
X-Men Legends.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah.
With Apocalypse,
yeah. Which is in the same world as the Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's the same.
I never knew
world.
that.
It's the same developers and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, it was such an amazing game. That was one of the games that me and my dad, and even my brother, played together.
Yeah.
Just as Wolverine, as Magneto, as freaking just as a bunch of different people, and it's just amazing.
All those muties. You can say the word.
Those muties.
Say the word. You're with friends.
Oh my God, no.
Mutas.
Mutas.
Whoa, the hard R.
Muters. Brian, what about you?
Well, I was gonna say same thing. Actually, that was the first experience I ever had with X-Men. That and going to the swap meet and getting those Chiefy Chaffa toys that were super friends, and they had Shrek and Superman and Christian Bale.
Was it those little figures where they're the
fake
superheroes
one,
are kids.
Yeah.
Like they're like little miniature ones. They're children.
Yes.
But it's awkward to see with Wolverine, like this old man child version of it, like Superhero Squad, right?
Exactly.
Oh my
but
God.
I mean, I played the same X-Men game on the Xbox with my uncle. So when I would go over, we would either play that or King Kong Island, the King Kong game with Percy Jackson.
What about Kingdom Hearts?
You need to stop. Someone needs to shoot you. Whoa. With love.
By the way, this is the first time I'm on camera really for the podcast, so
all right.
they caught my
your exact
my
moment.
fear in you saying that, and they also caught you threatening that. But anyway,
it's legal documentation.
We are now seeing the beginnings of another stage of human evolution.
The truth is that mutants are very real, and they are among us. We must know who they are, and above all, what they can do.
But what about the films and everything? Because Miles brought up the movies and stuff with Hugh Jackman, and those are those are game-changing films for the superhero genre and everything. They were the first time we're seeing a lot of those Marvel characters in a bigger context than just like a Saturday morning cartoon. So where were you guys with the first X-Men film? Like when was the first time you watched it? I mean, Brian, you're like 13, so it was probably really recent when you first watched it. But Miles, how about you? You're 14.
14, of course. I don't know why. I think I felt with the first X-Men film, it's the start of everything.
Yeah.
I think it was John. Yes, John. Is it John Stewart?
John Cena?
John Cena.
What are you talking about?
Patrick Stewart. There
John Stewart.
Leguizamo.
That would be a really weird Professor X. Sid from Ice Age.
Patrick Stewart is just fucking amazing.
Yeah,
as Professor X.
That's the casting for that character, right?
That's amazing casting. It's still like you get to see everybody.
Yeah,
like the first time, and it's like very theatrical and everything like that. But it seems like again, with a lot of the even though I loved it, the one thing is it's like it revolves around pretty much Wolverine the whole time.
Yeah,
it's like because he's such a big character. And I still love the films and everything. It's like, man, he's like Wolverine is basically a main the main person kind of through everything.
Well, yeah,
he's through his eyes almost.
It is. It's like a good way to like discover the X-Men through his eyes, because he's someone of mystery, but he's going into this school where he's like, I don't know what is this place, right? Like he's like all scared of it. First a lab, then he goes upstairs and there are children there and everything. It's like, what the fuck is this, right? But he's a really good point of reference
because you're discovering the mystery of the Xavier Mansion and who the X-Men are, and in him becoming an X-Men.
Yeah. Well, was Wolverine, like, for you guys, your favorite character of the X-Men growing up? Because he's a lot of people's, because he, for a long time, was the face of it all.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, Beast was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The practical effects on him.
Oh yeah, that was really
those
good.
Looked amazing.
Yeah,
dude, really it's just good. The way they made the get up for him. It's just like yes, that looks, the fucking thing looks great. That is Beast.
Yeah,
But that's not until like the third film.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there to the goat, the last stand.
Yeah, but I mean, for Wolverine, I feel like. Even with that question,
while you answer the question, I'm gonna open this pineapple juice that you gave me on brand.
I hope
yellow.
You liked it. Well, within that question, I feel like it's kind of hard not to like.
Shit. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Go for it.
Hey, drink this. I feel like it's kind of hard not to like Wolverine because it's so pressured that this is more of a Wolverine film trilogy than it is.
Just an
straight up X-Men trilogy. Yeah. So I feel like Wolverine's got to be your favorite.
There is a war coming. You sure you're on the right side?
That or Rogue, Wolverine, maybe even Storm in the first film.
Storm,
I mean, because how weird,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like the first cast. I don't know. I don't want to be like, oh, the first film was amazing because it really represented. Because it did feel like an X-Men movie more than the other films. So I'm sure we'll talk about it a little later on. But it felt like the first film actually had a mission that the X-Men were trying to complete, a mission that like most people will always like assume with like the comics or with the shows, because that's what it's about. It's about the X-Men coming together to fix something and fix something for the greater world. Maybe you could argue that with the second film, but that's more like espionage. If anything, that film should have felt more like X-Force in a way, you know?
Yeah, well, I agree with that, actually, that the first film, upon my rewatch recently, I ended up really liking it more because it is the teen film.
Exactly.
You know, like they work as, even like someone like Cyclops, who we know gets kind of the shaft in this series.
Yeah.
But he's at his, James Marsden. No, for real, James Marsden is at his best in this film, I think.
Yeah.
You know, like he feels like the character of the leader. He's badass. He's not taking Wolverine's shit and everything. Like he's giving it right back to him when he's like messing with him. It's like don't stay away from my girl.
You know, and that chemistry gets instantly lost within the other films.
Well, we'll get there. But so what aspect of this really? Because this movie, I think for us especially, a lot of it is filtered through like nostalgia and everything. You know, and it's we can't help that. It's just when it came out and everything. But what part of it? You know, in your memory of the film, really encapsulates that, like that nice old feeling of the film. You know, for me, it's got to be Magneto.
Yeah, Magneto was he's pretty fucking evil.
Yeah, Surian
it's
McKellen.
Like, and it's like him having the guns pointed at everybody, and then like kind of like looking at which gun to fucking shoot.
Yeah.
And it's like he shoots it, and then he holds the fucking bullet right next to his fucking head, and like
it's tense.
Ooh, it's tense. I'm like, oh shit, he could kill everybody right fucking now, but that wouldn't prove, wouldn't prove everything.
Well, it's the same as like with Patrick Stewart as Xavier. It's perfect casting, getting Surian McKellen as Magneto. Like you look at the comic books and everything. What happened?
Fucking died.
Your camera died?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. We are here back to talk about the X-Men films, the franchise, as it were. And we were talking about the first film, the first X-Men movie. And we were talking just now about Magneto, right? Surian McKellen is Magneto. So what do you guys think it is that makes him such a compelling villain? I mean, I know what it is, but what do you guys think it is?
The sheer brutality and like the way, like mindset of how Ian gets into being basically king, but not king, but like the ruler of Genosha and everything like that.
Yeah,
just the mindset of like, these guys are trying to kill us. We're gonna hit first before they do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like that idea of like, I can kill everybody here if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But that won't prove my point.
Yeah.
Yet.
Not yet. Not till they're all mutants, right?
Yes, basically.
Brian, as a history major.
Yes.
Yes. Or I'm sorry, as a historian with a diploma.
Thank you. Yes.
Arguably. This character obviously is very historically relevant.
Oh, yeah. Screams dictator.
Someone who was in the concentration camps during World War II and everything. Now aspires to be like the people who put him into that situation during the Holocaust. What do you think of Magneto as an antagonist for the X-Men in this film?
It looks amazing.
Yeah.
If you wanted, for people, I mean, I'm shocked for people who haven't seen these movies yet.
Yeah.
But you haven't seen these movies, but you do watch The Boys. I would say the closest representation of Magneto, or at least his rise to power and popularity, is maybe Homelander. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say that is the understanding of that he understands the downtrodden, and the downtrodden would be the mutants. It's people who have powers, people who could be seen almost as gods, and we see that within later X-Men films.
Yeah.
But we see in this primary example that Rogue feels like almost like, I can't be loved, I can't be touched. And we see that even with Xavier with his powers, like, I wish to be normal in a way, you know? And that becomes a bigger plot within the third X-Men film. But Magneto sees this as a crime against their kind, because he knows that what we've been given are gifts of the supernatural, something that's even higher than just any normal human. And for any human to put us down, is wrong.
Yeah.
You know, we are the second evolutionary chain of humanity. We are above humanity. It's kind of the same thing with Homelander, where he views himself as we're gods among men.
Well, especially in this latest season.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you see it's going in that exact direction.
It is.
Except Homelander is more
psychotic.
A little bit more psychotic.
More narcissistic.
Definitely more like
more,
he wants just followers for the sake of following him, kind of thing.
I mean, that's more. He's more corporate. Homelander's more corporate and you know, trying to make have everyone love him. Magneto's just there to fucking just take care of his own kind.
Well, he's in many ways a revolutionary, you know. He's like the Che Guevara of
Che Guevara.
How do I say that?
You look like him. You should know.
Well, he very much is that equivalent of a supervillain in this, because
willing to do anything for his people, even the risk of innocent and other people. But as long as his people come out first. Yeah. Then that's what all matters. And
as long as he's on top of them.
Exactly.
Because Wolverine makes that point where he's like, you're full of shit. If you believed in this, you'd be right in that machine yourself, you know, which I love the nuance of that character, you know? Like, he isn't really after... he's after power, ultimately. And power for him and his people. That comes second to him, you know, because, you know, you live in a concentration camp.
Yeah, basically, you know? It was like, once I have power... then I can give other people power.
Yeah.
But not the same amount of power.
No, it's not equitable anyway.
No, there's no equity in
it's like
power.
Stalin.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's there are a lot of real life equivalents. You know, a lot of comparisons you can make, and this was obviously drawn from real life figures. The most popular for Professor X and Professor X and Magneto are
Malcolm.
Well, no, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Like those are the comparisons that are often made with those two characters because of their whole ideologies of being a mutant and whether equality should be the goal or supremacy should.
I built this school where mutants could learn to focus their powers in a positive way and also learn that mankind was not evil, just uninformed.
And I love that that's brought in here. You know, there's a line that's brought up where it's like the first time we see X with Magneto, and they're having that discussion of like, people have changed, is what Professor X says. People are different. They're not how they were when we met. And Magneto's just like, we're the future. It's us. And that's just how it's going to be, even if I'm not doing my thing, you know? Is there a scene in this that for you really cements the film? Like, it represents the film for you guys? Yeah.
Yes. Wait, for the first film?
For the first film, yeah.
Okay, darn. For the first film? All right, here. Actually, no. Here, Miles, you go first.
You know what happens when you electrify a toad? The same thing that happens to everything else.
I think what cements the film is... let me think. I mean, there's a lot of good moments. I mean, everybody's being basically the scene over on the fucking Lady Liberty.
Oh yeah,
that fucking scene.
Iconic
scene.
Wolverine versus Sabretooth. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just like what brings it all together is like I forgot who threw a Cyclops like fucking visor to him.
Oh, I think Jean did.
Yeah, Jean just throws it at him, and it's like, and it just fucking lasers like, oh, this is the team. The team's here. Let's do it, and like, let's kick some ass, and just like.
I wish you were Cyclops in the film, and your war cry, your battle cry is let's kick some ass. Let's do it. Let's do it. X-Men. How about you, Brian?
Well, honestly, I don't know if there's directly a scene that feels like the perfect scene for this film for me, but one scene that definitely feels super nostalgic and almost kind of like, oh, that's cool to see this on screen, is honestly the beginning scene where Rogue gets in the truck with Wolverine, and then they get knocked out by Sabretooth, and they're in the snow, and then we see Storm, we see Cyclops just appearing out of nowhere, and then coming and using their powers. I love that scene. It's cool, and I love the snow. I'm sure it's fake, but I just love. I'm a sucker for scenes. I'm a sucker for scenes in the snow.
That shit was CG.
I'm a sucker for scenes in the snow.
Yeah,
and then obviously I think the introduction to the school. That's also
that was great.
But I feel like a better introduction to the school may have been in the second film.
Yeah, well, I gotta say that the opening of the film is really, I think, bold, especially for that time, to legitimize this film, these characters, with opening up in Auschwitz. Like, seeing the origin of Magneto, something that, like, a scene that is so dark, not just like, lighting wise or cinematography wise, but just the content of it. Yeah. Seeing him being ripped away from his family as they go into the chambers and stuff is really. Like, that's a risk to open up a superhero movie.
It's a fucked up, like... Yeah. Like,
this movie, I didn't like the intro.
That was a little much.
I'm just glad people stuck around, think about bringing your kids into this. It's PG.
I know, yeah.
Was it PG-13?
Yeah.
PG-13.
Fucking opening on that scene with their kids,
like, walk in the boy in the striped pajamas all of a sudden.
Well, did you guys know when you were kids? Did you know what that was? Like, when you're watching it?
Oh, well,
no. I mean, dude, no. I wish you forget it. It's like, mutants.
Well, I'm a history major, so it's different for me. I knew what was going on.
Bro, you were -3 when this movie came out, okay? So
when I saw it later, when I was like around 10.
When you were 6, you knew what the concentration camp
yeah,
were?
I did.
You were excited?
Yeah.
Whereas Miles was like a denier.
It's shown.
Well, it really, it's not only bold, but it's also, it sticks to the themes of the mutants, right? Like, to open up on Auschwitz, like, really shows the parallel. It's telling you this is what these people are now.
Yeah.
You know? And I love that they kind of bring that up. We're not at this film yet, but they bring that type of opening back in Days of Future Past. Full circle moment, which I really love.
A really good scene.
That was actually a really good scene.
That might be my favorite scene in that whole film. That and the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh wait, what did I say? First Class?
No, you said Days of Future Past.
Oh well, what's funny is they do it also in First Class, but they do something similar in Days of Future Past at the very beginning, where you see the camps and everything, right? But this movie's. I really enjoy the film. I love the unity of the team.
No, it's an enjoyable watch when you like understand the context a little bit more. When you get a little bit more older. I mean, as a kid, you liked either the third movie or maybe Origins, but that's a stretch. But then now,
what?
What the fuck? I mean, as a kid, you're dumb, so you're like, oh, big battle, awesome, you know?
Oh, so the prequels.
You need to stop with that.
Don't give up on them. Mankind has evolved. Not anymore.
Jimmy. All right. Well, let's move on to the second film. Now, I'm gonna exchange Miles for Justin here.
Ooh, an exchange.
Justin is here.
Oh, Shakti did an exchange.
Give me a hug, brother.
Yo.
Oh, my brother.
My brother.
My.
Doesn't it ever wake you in the middle of the night? The feeling that someday they will pass that foolish law and come for you and your children. Take you all away. It does indeed.
Yeah, get in there, Justin.
Yeah.
Yo, it's Beast and Juggernaut right now.
All right. Who is who?
I'll let the viewers decide. What's up, Justin?
I feel more like just kidding
now.
You know?
Yeah. What's up? Hey, by the way, I just want to say before things went kaput, thank you.
My favorite X-Men?
No. Oh, okay. Thank you for bringing your camera and helping out with the whole setup before everything went, the way it did.
Sure, no problem.
No, you were doing great. I just want to say that on the record.
Motherfucker, just get
Well, it's X-Men to X2. X-Men United.
X2.
Honestly, I think this was my favorite film.
Of the whole series?
Of the whole series until rewatching the first one.
Okay, so...
I actually have to attest.
So I have a little bit more opinion on this one.
For both you guys, it's your favorite X-Men film, you'd say? of any of them.
To tell you the truth, it's the first X-Men film I was introduced to. My mom.
X2 was the first one you watched.
Yeah, my mom introduced me to X2.
I say that's better than me. My first one was the third one.
Oh God,
Angel.
It was the first movie of the X-Men that I've ever watched, and like it just got me into it. I was just like, damn, is there more X-Men stuff? And then she showed me the whole thing. I was just like, damn,
yeah,
this is great.
Well, this is obviously the sequel to the first film, and it kind of it deals with Wolverine primarily. This is a Wolverine movie for all intents and purposes, where it delves more into his origin. You go to Weapon X at Alkali Lake. You see a lot more mutants that people have been wanting to see. A lot of mutants that are kind of out there, like Nightcrawler.
My boy,
Nightcrawler is the one that's like
my favorite Christian mutant.
Is he Christian or Catholic?
Christian.
He's Christian.
He is.
Yeah, he's Christian.
Well, I was very happy that they still kind of retain that in a very classy way.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah. It's a cool little reference to for people who watch the show. It's like, oh look, you know?
Yeah. Well, the movie is kind of about faith in the face of like cynicism almost, you know, because you have the government coming in, like rounding up the mutants. It's kind of the beginning of what Magneto was warning about in the first film.
That whole house scene with taking over the kids and then saving as much as possible. That's a great scene.
Yeah. Dude, that's the I noticed on this first time rewatching, that's the first time between the first film and this film that we saw Wolverine kill people. That's the first time. Like we see him like stab fools and everything. Like because the first movie they're testing the waters and everything. It's kind of, in the way of violence. It's a little bit like the '90s show where like Wolverine would grab the claws and everything, and then he's about to charge someone. He's about to claw at someone, but then he just puts them away and punches people and everything. That's him in the first film. In this film, dude, the scene where he's like going after the military guys and everything. God, what did you think about that scene when you first saw it?
To tell you the truth, I was like Iceman. Like when when he saw that when he, like his reaction to like Wolverine.
You're hiding under the table.
Like he was just like, oh, fuck! I didn't know this guy was a murderer.
I liked it a lot. I think that was the first for me growing up as a kid because I watched this one before I saw like. I think I saw this one when it came out in theaters. I think, you know? So watching this was kind of like, oh, wow, that's awesome. And then now as an adult really understanding it, it's like, oh, cool. That's like the first, for me as a kid growing up, like before even reading about The Punisher, before reading about Deadpool, it's definitely cool to see a hero actually like murder and wreck fools in a way that you felt like you've never wanted prior.
And now you watch The Boys.
Now I watch The Boys. Oh God, yeah.
And you get aroused.
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, like here's the thing: everyone was all the big heavy players for the X-Men team. They weren't really around during that time. It was just Wolverine, and you know when Wolverine's trying to protect a bunch of kids, he's gonna do the most Wolverine thing he could do, which is all out war. My way, and my way, everyone's gonna come out on top.
Well, you could even say it could be a callback to even later on with Logan. You know, it's almost exactly the same sentiment of like he will do anything in order to protect the future generations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just look at this guy's power. They're knives in his hands. That's his power.
If he's gonna make use of it, he's gonna make use of it.
This man's either gonna be a chef at Nobu or a murderer on Mascal. I mean, it's gotta be one or two.
Sushi
man.
I mean, hell, he literally gave a beer bottle to Iceman and said, "Hey, freeze it up, and then I'm gonna drink it."
Well, here's
It wasn't beer; it was cola.
Oh yeah, it was cola.
You're very much Iceman right now. If this dude, if Justin got the claws right now, you'd have to back him up with some ice.
Got you. I got you.
Hey, thanks.
I'm pyro. I'm edgy.
I'm pyro. Dude. I love that pair up also. Pyro and Iceman in this film. That butting heads friendship is really good in this film.
And it works well within finding out that he then later joins on with Magneto. And
Yeah.
Can I talk about that scene real quick with
the
kid? That's my favorite scene in this whole movie.
Which one?
With them going back to Rogue with her family and stuff, or
Iceman.
Iceman. Going back to Iceman's family, and then him being like, "Yeah, this is my power. This is who I am," and his mom and dad almost kind of like being very hesitant to accept it and stuff, and that's very like real with anyone trying to kind of convince their parents about who they are and their reality, and then his brother. I won't say. I mean, a dickhead, but definitely
Brian calling the feds on his brother.
But he's younger, so that in that instance, how I viewed it was definitely that he is indoctrinated to the max because they've been pushing such a narrative that mutants are the enemy to humanity.
He listens to Infowars,
and that proves itself to Magneto's whole claim that even while some of the older generation might be hesitant, some may disagree and some may agree, there is such indoctrination within nowadays that even the younger generation, no matter what, even if it's against their parents, they're willing to go be a mark for their own family members.
So you think Magneto was right? It's an honest question.
All right, honest question. All right, you ready for this? I think Magneto is half wrong and half right. In the
50-50.
50-50. Because he's right. I mean, he's right in his message, but he's wrong in his practice. Because his practice is that he wants the power. Yeah. He's not going to share that power, and he doesn't want the power to mutants. He wants to control all mutants. He's just using it. Like I said, he's a good dictator because he follows the rules of all dictators. I'm going to use good choice words to get the populace and the masses to listen to me, and once I get the power, fuck you.
What do you think, Justin?
To tell you the truth, here's the thing. Magneto, he knows a lot about oppression. Literally,
he's lived it.
Yeah, he's lived it, dude.
Yeah.
Imagine someone like, I don't believe that, Magneto.
it goes really well with what he's expressed to people throughout like the entire like X-Men mythos. Like, hey, look, I before I even knew I was a mutant, I was a Jew. And what did they do to Jews during my time as a child? We were oppressed. We were herded into camps. And they ended up killing all of us. Why? Because they believed in some religion that we didn't.
Yeah.
And then when mutants started to become a thing, the same thing happened again, but on a more, uglier scale. Okay. Yeah. You started experimenting on us. You started making weapons to kill us. You started making gear to oppress our powers because you are afraid of us. Here's the thing. Magneto is more of an interesting villain because you can sympathize with him. Yeah. These are the qualities that make him like an understandable villain in a way. And sometimes you start to question yourself, like, is he even a villain?
Yeah. And that's the thing. They really wrote his character excellent because without that, you would be like, I don't like him. Yeah. But because you understand from him coming from one of, if not the most destructive and most inhumane 21st century crimes ever committed to mankind, you can have a bit of a sympathy, be like, well, he is a victim, and he just a victim that's lost.
Well, what I love about that in this film is that he is victimized by, obviously the government. When he's a prisoner and everything, he's being treated like shit and everything. He's in a plastic box, and then you see them team up. The Brotherhood and the X-Men team up to take on Weapon X, right? Take on Stryker and everything. They infiltrate the base and everything. And
X-Force right there.
They show what he's willing to do because he's willing to commit a genocide all on his own because of the pain that he was caused during World War II. And you see, like, I love that moment where it's like he goes into this fake Cerebro that Xavier's trapped in, and then he reroutes the panels. It's like, no, this ain't mutants anymore. It's humans that are getting this, right? This attack, And it just shows that even though we love this character, I love this character, I love Ian McKellen as it. Yeah. When he's ready to become that bad guy, he's gonna do it. I love that.
Here's the thing. Another thing too about this is that there are no right or bad sides into this kind of thing, because here's the thing: while we do see the good and bad of mutants, unfortunately, we also see the good and bad of mankind too. Just look at what Stryker was doing. Literally experimenting
on his own son.
On his own son, on mutants. Like, dude was literally breaking human rights violations left and right. And then he just said,
"You can't break human rights if you're not a human."
Yeah, see? That's
you're
mutant. That's literally the message that he was saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not doing anything wrong.
And that comes out of
I'm experimenting on you people.
Yeah.
And that comes out of the fear of not knowing the other and stuff like that. Which is kind of an interesting callback to back of Magneto's past.
Yeah.
You know, because in reality, the Nazis did the same thing with Jews and with anyone that they were afraid of. They did human testing on them to try to understand who they were and what made them. How were they different from us? So it's a cool, like, if you know a little bit more about that stuff, it's like, oh, that's evil. Yeah. And that's cool that how evil they'll be.
Well, they implement real life context, real life history into these, which makes it more compelling.
Exactly.
Which is why I want to get back to that scene you were talking about with Iceman's parents.
Oh, yeah.
Which is obviously an equivalent to, it's representing coming out, you know? Mm-hmm. They talked to Ian McKellen on the set. He was their advisor because he is gay. And he said, this is how the scene has to play out. You know, this is how it's going to hit people for real, you know, because the X-Men have always been an allegory for people who are other races, who are disenfranchised, especially, you know, gay people, black people, Mexicans. Like, it appeals to minorities because just of the very concept. And that scene, it is very...
X-Men.
X-Force.
X-Force. Mom, I'm an X-Man.
Well, I love that. I love that scene just because it is very, for a lot of gay people, it must have been so real for them.
It's actually impactful.
It is impactful, you know. I love, like, the line, "Have you ever thought of not being a mutant?" I mean, you know, that's very real for some people out there.
It is very real, but it also goes to show, like, sometimes you just can't. You can't ask that question towards people.
It's a ridiculous question.
It hurts
Julius,
that person.
Have you ever thought not being gay,
not being a podcaster?
Not being a podcaster?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, you ever tried not having long hair?
Yes.
It keeps going back.
It keeps coming back.
That's my mutant power.
What do I do? Yeah. Well, this movie for a long time was considered, especially in the early 2000s when it came out, and, you know, up until things like the MCU emerged, it was considered one of the best comic book films of all time. And this franchise in itself has expanded. There have been a lot more films that have come from it, a lot of great films that have come from it ever since X2. So do you guys think this is still... you got to think about a whole bunch of movies that have come out since, like a whole bunch of comic book movies. Do you think this is still one of the greatest comic book films of all time?
To tell you the truth, I think it past exceeds that. Like, it's a pop culture icon.
Mm-hmm.
Because to tell you the truth, that's the one film that really, like, did it all. Like, got people's attention. Like, the X-Men, this is the closest thing that we're gonna get where it reflects off of our reality.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Brian?
I agree too.
Yeah.
Because while I love the MCU, I mean, I hate the choices that they're doing with, like, the new shit. Like, oh my god. But just the difference between what was considered now and what was considered then, we have to take into the practice of what they were going in with effects, what they were going with their budget, what they were going with at the time. And you still got to think about this. Growing up as a kid, like, besides for Transformers, that was, like, the only mainstream shit that everyone in the neighborhood was like, oh, that shit's awesome. Everything else, everyone was like, yo, you're kind of fucking gay, or, like, who would watch X-Men, you know, besides from, like, some kid who liked comic books. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely cool to see how it still stands up today compared to other projects, like, that are so amazing. I mean, I'll love Endgame, and I'll love Infinity War to death. I think that might be the pinnacle to a lot of superhero films. But for a movie, I think X-Men might exceed that.
X-Men 2.
X-Men 2, because it's not just a superhero film, it is a film.
Sure.
You know, it follows a lot of... Yeah, it feels a lot of, like... A lot of shit. It's just like the Tobey Maguire films. Even just like the first Iron Man and the second Iron Man. It is a good director, it is a good cast, and it is something that it's trying to do overall with the story, and the superheroes are just the icing on the cake.
That's a great point.
Basically turning your characters human.
So for me, because of everything you guys said, this is definitely an honorable mention in that conversation of the greatest comic book films out there.
Oh yeah.
Not even just like with the MCU or what DC, but within this own franchise, I think better films have come out since. Especially Logan. Like watching Logan recently, I mean, it's incredible. It's amazing. It's an incredible film. So I think that's probably the best this series has put out. But X-Men 2, it held that title for a reason. Yeah. You know, there are some things that kind of bothered me, like how Cyclops is kind of absent from the film and everything. Yeah, you can. Okay, for sure. If you want to take over the couch, because look at Miles here. Miles is about to knock out Iceman.
Miles needs some chicken. Right, Miles?
Chicken.
You want some chicken?
A little later.
All right,
a little later. So X-Men 2, it held that title for a long time. I love it. Movie's great.
Yeah.
I just wish Cyclops got justice.
No, and that's the thing.
and that's a bitch.
And that's the issue. Like, and that's the thing. As a kid, like I always thought fucking Wolverine was the leader. You know? Because they really
because he was in these films.
Yeah, but in the books it's so different. And then it's like, oh wow, they really fucked over like who is representing the X-Men.
The guy.
And honestly, I think it works, and a lot of times it doesn't work. I think it would only work if you really like. I think X-Men would only work in that pattern of following leadership and understanding with the comic books if it was part of the MCU. But because it's not part of the MCU, I think it kind of does work following just Wolverine. But they should have at least called it Wolverine.
Well, the thing is that these movies, I mentioned this in the other discussion I did about the X-Men. These movies have to be impossible to make. The amount of characters that there are that are rich, that we all know from the books and the shows and everything.
It's so hard to choose like who.
Yeah, like you have no choice but to do something like you have focusing on Wolverine because he is a really interesting character and everything. But I don't think that the people making these films didn't get that Cyclops was cool, but I think a lot of them didn't care much, and they chose to because Hugh Jackman was a name. Instantly when he was in the first film, like he's iconic.
Like,
everyone
great
wants
actor.
him.
He was really big in theater around that point in time.
Yeah. And let's be honest, he's great in the role.
Oh no, extremely great role. I mean,
sick
to this day, everyone is like, when you think of Wolverine, you think Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, yeah.
And everyone else is kind of like, you could either like Rogue, Southern or Goth, you know, like
but we know that Cyclops is such a great character, which is why I think. Well, first of all, I'm really happy X-Men 97 came out to show that because, dude, he is the OG. I'm not gonna say, but they legitimize him,
and it looks really good.
Yeah, they bring his
respect.
They put some
Scott
respect on him, dude. He is the OG. He is the team leader. So when they bring him in the MCU, whichever, I don't know how they're gonna do the X-Men in MCU, but he's got to be the Cap.
The war has begun. Eric, what have you done?
Let's move on to this fucking film.
Okay. Oh my god, we bring up the third one?
X-Men: The Last Stand.
Make no mistake, my brothers. The humans will draw first blood. The air is still, and the night has fallen. There's only one question you must answer. Who will you stand with?
So let me just preface
X-Men San Francisco.
Now, do you want to get in on this one?
Yeah, I'll get in on
Okay, so Brian, let's
change.
I'll bring you up when we talk about the Juggernaut.
Of course. The Juggernaut.
Oh God.
Bring me up when the kid has cancer.
The cure.
Don't you know who I am? Yes, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Oh my! So
I mean, they did it.
Get close and just.
Like, I mean, they referenced the online, because what was that? It was a meme, right, at the time, and they really referenced that. I'm like, I don't know how it would fly today.
I hope they say it again in Deadpool and Wolverine, because that actor is going to, or at least that version of Juggernaut is going to be in the film.
Yeah, that version of Juggernaut's going to be in there.
Don't you know who I am? And then Deadpool says, "It's the Juggernaut, bitch."
Yeah. Oh, that would be fucking cool.
Yeah, Juggernaut. Okay, so we're talking about X-Men: The Last Stand.
Oh.
So this movie, to kind of set up the film, right? The movie was going through a lot in the development phase.
yeah.
Because Bryan Singer, who's kind of a scumbag.
Sorry about that, guys.
Bryan Singer was the director of the first two films, and they were critically acclaimed, big films. Those were his X-Men films primarily, right?
Oh yeah.
And people were looking forward to the third film, especially after the second one. The second one teases the Phoenix at the very end. We have a great fight scene with Lady Deathstrike and Wolverine and everything. We see great characterization of Wolverine, and we see it all, dude. We see it all with this second film. So people are excited for third film. You're doing the fucking Phoenix? Yo, this is gonna be the one. And I don't know if you guys know this. You probably do. There was a game that was a tie-in game that was set between the second film and the third film called X-Men: The Official Game. Do you remember this?
I think I do.
It's called X-Men: The Official Game.
Wait, was it on
GameCube, PlayStation 2,
cool.
and it had like the voice. It had the actors in it. Hugh Jackman, not all of them, but a lot of them.
I mean, if you got Hugh Jackman,
Hugh
on
Jackman,
the fucking game,
I'll play any Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman was in it. The actor who plays Alan Cumming, who plays Nightcrawler's in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh,
and
shit.
you can play them.
He's in there.
And Patrick Stewart was in it. But they also brought in characters to tease the next film, like Kelsey Grammer's Beast. And, like these characters. And it's setting up the third film. We're seeing Cyclops. Cyclops isn't a playable character. He's still kind of, swollen after Jean's death.
Mick swollen.
And he's like in a depressive mode and everything. But that sets up everyone's appetite for the third film, which, like, this is going to be the greatest trilogy of all time, right? X-Men 3? What? Yo, the first two were fucking dope. Okay. So Bryan Singer moves on from X-Men: The Last Stand, or X-Men 3 as it was called at the time, to do Superman Returns. Because he had always wanted to do a Superman film, and he was in love with the Richard Donner film, so he chose to do that with Brandon Routh, and he took James Marsden with him. James Marsden played Cyclops in these earlier films, which is why we have a little Cyclops in X-Men 3. So they get two writers to write. I don't know what Fox was thinking. I think they were going through a lot of turmoil at the time. They get two different script writers to come up with two different stories at the same time for the film.
No wonder.
Because they wanted to do I think Singer wanted to do Phoenix because it was teased, but the producers wanted to do the Cure storyline because they were just interested in that from Astonishing X-Men. So they get, I think it's Zach Penn and Simon Kinberg to write two different drafts, and then they come together and they make this script of X-Men: The Last Stand. And this movie, on my rewatch, angered me. Of course,
it was disappointing. It was
little disappointing.
It was. They made Cyclops even an even bigger bitch than he was before.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's kind of Brett Ratner was the director of this, and I don't know what his fucking problem is, but he disrespected Cyclops in an unbelievable way. Because while watching, I'm like, dude, because he starts out the movie in mourning over what happened with Jean, which makes sense.
Yeah,
he's at a low point. But I thought the movie, it's like he's going to build himself back up to actually lead the X-Men, especially if characters like Xavier die, they're gone and everything. Jean's the antagonist now. What perfect potential.
This is a Wolverine trilogy. Get that guy out of here. Kill him!
Wolverine 3!
Yeah, no, it was more Wolverine.
It really was. He's
like,
the leader.
Shit.
It's Wolverine. They might as well called it Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. And
that leader.
And Wolverine didn't seem as angry as
Scott.
As Scott.
Yeah.
And Scott was supposed to be the more, I guess, level-headed dude, and he was just...
He's the leader.
A sad sack of shit.
Well, what did you guys think of X-Men: The Last Stand?
I'll tell you what it is. Oh, Jean, you're back. Yeah, let me give you a kiss.
kiss of death.
He basically got disintegrated when he saw her. It's like, oh, you fixed my eyes. I can see you properly now. And then fucking evaporates him into fucking air.
Yeah. Well, this movie split, obviously, in terms of its story, right? You're dealing with the Cure in one area, you're dealing with the Phoenix in another area, and they don't mix. They don't mix together.
A major pharmaceutical company has developed a way to suppress the mutant X gene permanently. They're calling it a cure.
There's nothing to cure. Nothing's wrong with any of us for that matter.
You of all people know how fast the weather can change.
Which of the stories did you find more compelling? Because I felt there was potential for both story in separate films, but which for you guys was the most interesting between both?
I think. What do you
think? To tell you the truth, in my opinion, it was mostly the because they already teased it in the second film, the Phoenix. Because here's the thing. Jean Grey, she's like a very complicated character.
Yeah.
And to really delve into like her story for X3, if it had gone that way, would have been pretty damn fitting, because if you think about it, I guess you could say it kind of goes like with the flow of what they were trying to do originally.
Yeah. If they had just focused on it, it would have been the perfect cap for the trilogy.
I think, but I would have liked that film with the Cure too. It's like that's the question. If you had the chance to change yourself and change who you were and who you are, would you take that chance? You know.
Yeah, and there are a lot of characters in the X-Men that respond to the Cure in very emotional ways, right? Like Rogue, obviously dealing with that conflict within her. That's interesting.
Bullshit. We never got to see.
She wasn't a goth baddie. That idea. I like the idea of the Cure if it were like saved for a later film, because we already had the government oversight in the second film. Like the government was the enemy in the second film. In the third film, save it for like the real crazy cosmic horror stuff with Jean Grey, right?
Yeah.
You know, because what the fuck? And I don't like what they do with Rogue in terms of like she takes the Cure for a boy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that's in line with what it should be.
See, that's the thing. To tell you the truth, like I was kind of thinking to myself while I was watching like that movie like a while ago, I was kind of thinking like, damn, it would have been actually really cool instead of that whole Cure bullshit. They would have had Rogue really come to like accept herself
and
really
become like an actual X. Like why isn't she at the end of in the final battle? You know,
Rogue didn't do shit in the movie.
She didn't.
She didn't do anything. Yeah, and she was so integral to at least like the first one was revolving almost around Logan
and Rogue's
story. You know?
And for her to be, she's kind of gets the Cyclops treatment in this film. You know? And she's arguably one of the most useful X-Men.
I mean,
she may be the most
third, like important character. Yeah, because first it's Magneto in the first film, and then Wolverine's shown, and then it's Rogue.
Well, if we're looking at like the team, right? Practical, you know, like who's the most useful in this fucking team here? Rogue is probably at the top.
Oh yeah,
next to someone like Jean or Xavier, if we're counting him.
I mean, just look at what happened in X1. Like she got stabbed by Wolverine, but then she's just like, oh, let me absorb his shit. I'll heal myself and I'll be good.
Dude, look at her in '97. In X-Men 97,
amazing,
dude. She
97, she is off the chain.
She gets her due in that. It's unbelievable.
Look at her thickness in the
Rogue wasn't thick in any of these movies. But
that's the thing, man. Like Rogue, like she's like viewed as a very like what do you call it, like undermined character. Like she's really like bad shit powerful, especially because obviously they couldn't do anything with Captain Marvel.
Of course.
So it's like it makes it harder because like in the original, you know, taking up the powers and then becoming basically Carl Danvers.
Yeah, Carl Danvers
on steroids.
Carl is Captain.
Carl Danvers.
Carol Danvers.
Hi, I'm Carl. Danvers.
You know, but he's like, it was just, you know, even though she was a little powered down in the X trilogy, you still felt like Rogue was very important.
Yeah.
This one didn't do anything, and it was just more disappointing. I'm like, fuck, why do they have to have two writers in this situation to
with two completely different stories?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But I feel like they could have amped her power up in this film where she becomes
they could have
prominent.
helped her out.
You know, like
everything.
dude, imagine she just touches Juggernaut. You know, she just touches him, and then you can get a dope ass fight between her and Juggernaut. You know,
it's like jumps on his back, fucking touches his neck, fucking, and then hits into the wall, and then
you could actually have, to tell you the truth, you could have actually gone a little bit more with her powers if they were to, like, you know, try to do like a combination of like what she does in the comics. Like, she could have taken someone's powers for that were able to fly, and then Juggernaut's abilities. That way she has that, you know, that damn power.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely a movie made, I feel, just to get it out there, you know, just to retain rights, make it. I mean, the movie was going to happen either way. And Brett Ratner was just not the choice, in my opinion, to direct.
He wasn't.
Brett Ratner directed the Rush Hour films. He directed... What else did he direct?
Hey, don't mess up the Rush Hour.
I mean, it was good.
The first film...
But for this situation, with X-Men being done by Robert Singer...
yeah, well, and also, you know, Brett Ratner is kind of a dickhead. But
no, I think...
He's not a dickhead. He's an asshole.
He is an asshole.
But I would say the silver lining out of everything in there was Beast.
Okay, thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
Kelsey
I have to
Grammer
agree.
as Beast, Hank McCoy, my favorite X-Men character, cemented by this performance. This casting is too good for this film.
No, yeah, it is.
This movie does not deserve the performance of Kelsey Grammer as Beast, because he is always great in the role. I love the prosthetics in this film. I love his attitude in coming to the film.
Yeah.
You can tell he really likes the character a lot.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, he's kind of he's great when he's there, but he's not really utilized in the way that he should be. I think, you know, he's
a fucking smart fucking scientist who can figure his ass. And he doesn't need brute strength entirely.
Yeah.
He can use his fucking. I mean, it's great that you show. Yeah, but
he's a bureaucrat in this film.
Hey, it's better than fucking doing nothing, you know.
No, it's true. It's true.
It's better than not being Southern or goth. You know?
I do wish, though, that just all these characters were more in tune with the roles. Like, we're coming up with better ideas for how they could be implemented than we saw in the film.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason they're better is because they're more in line with their comic book counterpart. You know, there were rules on these films not to read the comic books because they wanted to keep that separation. You see it in their outfits. You see it. They're wearing black leather in these films. You know, it's kind of weird that you're gonna make an X-Men film. It's like brownies without chocolate.
Oh my god, what the fuck?
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it's just...
Wolverine, I heard you're quite an animal.
Yeah,
I love that.
It was one performance that I wish would have been shown in other films too. I mean, and you know, when you go into the later films, Days of Futures Past and everything like that, I'm like, you see Beast for a second in there, like the
Kelsey Grammer's
Beast. Even though the other guy was pretty good, you know,
Nicholas Hoult. I think he was good for what he was given.
Yeah.
He's great. He's really
like, we're
the
gonna
next
be,
Lex Luthor. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, we're gonna be we're gonna be best friends. It's like, I wish I would have saw the friendship build in that film a little bit more between Wolverine and Beast, because I didn't feel it as heavy as.
Yeah, they have a very significant friendship, I think, within X-Men in general. Like, I always loved the relationship between Wolverine and Beast, and here they kind of play with that a bit. Like, they have banter when they first meet, you know, like like what you said, like, you're quite an animal, you know. I like the way they act with each other, but what they're given is shit.
Oh yeah,
you know.
That's the thing with the difference between the movie and the comic books. Like, Beast and Wolverine, like throughout the X-Men run in the comics, they've been more of like a prominent, like, understanding of one another. Like, like, hey, like, I understand, like, your like, you understand my thing because, you know, I'm blue, I'm always been furry, stuff like that. However, you have been called an animal your entire life because of, you know, what you are. Like, that, and you've been alive a lot longer than I
calls him boy.
Boy. Did he just call me boy?
Did he just? Yeah.
I was
much older than him.
I lived two lifetimes more than you, boy.
Logan, I know which army you fought for in the Civil War.
You fought for the South.
You think you can get rid of your Confederate ass that quick?
Well, listen, to bring up one thing I like. I mean, you already brought up Kelsey Grammer's Beast. That is the one thing I like of the film. But
you know, like Angel.
Oh yeah, I mean Angel. That's another thing. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but Angel is an original member of the fucking team in the comic books, and he's always getting the shaft in these movies. Dude.
I felt kind of like, it was like, oh shit, he was like cutting his fucking back.
Yeah, that's
effective. Fucking razor.
I think that's really effective. It's kind of similar in terms of opening to like the first film where you see Auschwitz, right? It's like a very dark implication of what mutants have to go through to live.
Scene, but then it never works with any.
No, it doesn't. Because it doesn't pay off. Like it pays off in a very surface level way where he like saves his dad and shit. But we don't know Warren as a person. Like Angel is like a major casualty in this film, which is really sad since he's one of the first members of the fucking team. Yeah, fucking he's the chicken man.
Into a naked model.
Is good for us.
I mean, I don't see how you have to like, you know, like bitch about that. Like,
shut up, fool. We like that. Well, what do you guys think of the kind of spin of this from the comics of the death of Jean Grey? When obviously they changed it up from Cyclops being... I mean, Cyclops and her are married at that point, I believe. Are they married at that point in the books?
I don't know. I don't.
They're together.
They're partners. They basically share a same room or something, I guess. Right.
Well, but they are together. Yeah. And they replace it with Wolverine here, where they try to make it a little bit more...
bad. Yeah.
It felt kind of soap opera-y a little bit. What do you guys think of that?
I don't know. Wolverine films.
Wolverine 10.
It's like you want, like you want.
Apparently not.
You want Wolverine to be happy too, but it's also like,
I love you.
Yeah, I know. It's like, come on, dude. You didn't really earn it.
Miles, let's reenact that scene at the end. I love you.
I know.
To tell you the truth, like, here's the thing, like, a relationship between, like, Jean Grey and Wolverine, like, it gets really difficult, especially if we're basing this off of, like, the comic version, because like, here's the thing, like, Jean Grey, astronomically powerful fucking character, and then Logan, he's just like a dude with claws. Like, you're not really gonna be able to do shit.
A boomer.
Against, like, the Phoenix of all fucking things. Like, oh, stab! I know! That'll work! The fucking Phoenix is astronomically fucking powerful. The thing survived a multiversal bomb, dude. How the fuck are you able to survive against that?
Well, here's my thing.
Hey, that's a he's shooting
point.
Facts. He's shooting facts.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Wolverine and Jean Grey, okay?
He just doesn't give a fuck.
It's always been a little pathetic. Okay? Wolverine always going after Jean. She's with Cyclops. It's like, oh yeah.
He's just pining over her.
He's pining. It's like, God, dude, it's been done. Why don't you get your own one? Get Madeline Pryor. How about that? Get the clone of Jean Grey.
Dude, she's depowered as fuck, but it's okay. It's still the same, redhead.
Not gonna burn your dick off. All right?
Look at me, Jean. We can help you. We can fix it. We can make it like it was. Stay with me, please.
Go to Mary Jane, dude.
I'm a little
steal her from fucking Peter Parker, dude.
Here's my thing, okay? I'm a little tired of the Phoenix at this point. I don't know if you guys agree. I love the potential of the Phoenix, especially from the comic books and what it could be. But at this point, they've messed it up so many times in the films I just don't care anymore.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you got enough iterations about it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
We've seen it. You know, if they reboot...
I've seen the Phoenix twice. We're done with this.
I'm done with it. I am. Because it's never translated well. No. I don't know why. It can... Maybe with the MCU, if they get it to like in phase 20 or something. The Phoenix.
Phase 20.
That would be great. But, no, I don't... no, sir. Don't like it. X-Men: The Last Stand.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Sorry.
Like,
and where was Nightcrawler?
I
got pissed off at that.
And Wolverine
primarily.
and Nightcrawler, both in the comics, had a really great relationship too.
Oh, dude, we're not going to spoil it because Brian's here, but that scene in X-Men 97 with them...
Yeah, I like that.
Dude,
perfect.
Yeah.
Shows their friendship.
Unbelievable.
So
that needs to be in a fucking movie.
That's
at
the thing, dude. Like,
yeah, you better say it.
You gotta watch it, son.
That's the thing, dude. Like, a lot of characters, like that, which is one of the reasons what makes the X-Men. A lot of characters get along really well with one another. Yeah. Specifically with the characters that they're with, like
family.
Like Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Beast. Like, they all get really well together because they're physically different from everyone else.
And then, by the way, Colossus was kind of just a
shafted as well.
Really shafted motherfucker.
Everyone's kind of shafted in this film, but he's not even Russian.
Yeah, he's not even Russian.
Yeah, I know. He's supposed to be a big, tall Russian dude.
Yeah, made out of metal. Fucking metal.
He is more like Drago than Colossus. All right. By the way, I was really upset that because X-Men 2, back to X-Men 2 just for a second. It had John Ottoman's X-Men theme. That's perfection in my opinion.
Yeah, that's perfection.
And they don't bring it back until Days of Future Past, which pisses me off.
That actually got me pretty pissed off. Although I'm not gonna lie, we can all agree that Days of Future Past saved like that entire fucking.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. So okay, let's move on to a movie that didn't piss me off, but made me laugh. And pissed me off.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a failed fucking reboot, if you want to call it.
That was the shittiest.
Hold on.
Yeah.
These claws are stuck together. Hold on.
Julius is gonna come out of the tank like this.
X-Men Origins.
Oh,
Wolverine.
No.
All the horrible things in your life. Your father. Wars. Knowing that the woman you loved was hunted down.
X-Men
And
Origins.
here, Justin, why don't you switch with Brian?
Yeah, sure.
Take a break. Why don't you come over here near my shoulder? Oh God, they need to. Oh my God, this is really weird to look at.
It's like
they're like dancing with each
It's
other.
like Bob, you know.
I'll bring you in when we talk about Deadpool.
Oh yeah.
in this film. And I shudder when I call him Deadpool. By the way, I feel dirty when I say that.
I was like so good. It's like, yes, Ryan Reynolds. He was so great. I was like, oh man, this is great. And then you continue on, and then you see him at the end, and you're like, no.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Turn into the alien, you know.
Here's the thing, okay? So we're talking about X-Men Origins Wolverine, right?
My favorite X-Men.
Get out. Okay, this is literally this is the prequels of X-Men.
All right, you stop.
It literally
this is literally the sequel of the X-Men.
No, it's a prequel.
No,
it is
in the sense of bad taste. Shut the fuck up.
Okay.
Shut up about the prequels. Anyway, that shit is goated. Your true fans will agree.
In the head trauma unit, it is goated. Anyway, So X-Men Origins Wolverine. Pretty much Wolverine 4 at this point.
Yeah.
No, and it's like the X-Men. like X-Men Origin Wolverine. You
Yeah.
know, they
They're just
literally had
calling
to
it
put
out.
they had to put his name in there.
Well, the idea of this film was to set up kind of a precedent for these films to have spin-offs and kind of origin stories of the characters we knew, like Magneto was a big one. Magneto was set to get a film like that.
X-Men Origin Magneto.
Yeah, we were supposed to get that at some point.
A good film for that, honestly,
Yeah.
low key, just putting out there, would have been entirely like a whole stylized film about him and his journey in Auschwitz.
Well, see,
Just
that was the plan. They were working on that, but then it gets incorporated into the First Class.
Yeah.
But when we're looking at this film, this is a movie that was made during the writer strikes of, I think it was 2008 at this point. And
let's write some shit.
well, see,
Boom.
a Wolverine movie had been in development for years at this point. Like Wolverine is a cash cow. Hugh Jackman is a draw. They were gonna make a movie just about Wolverine, not featuring the other X-Men as a team. Yeah. And this was in development for a number of years, and there were plenty of other concepts behind it. But once the wait, are we still recording? Yeah, we're still recording. Once the writer strike happened, we couldn't get second drafts, third drafts, fourth drafts. There weren't editors for the scripts of this film. And a lot of the production was halted because of the strike at that point.
Oh, God.
And which led to a lack of reshoots, lack of budget for CGI and effects. And
I wonder it was so shit.
and there were drafts of the script where there wasn't any, especially with characters like Deadpool, where there weren't any, they weren't written by writers. It was producers who were like, okay, so in the script it says Deadpool chops down a bunch of people and then says something funny.
That's it.
That's it. That's
oh my
all.
God.
That's it. So that's the type of film we're talking about here, where they're just making it on the fly, pretty much, and stitching it together.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I like that scene. wait.
The cameras don't work.
I know.
So, what is your guys' history with this fucking film? X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I just remember just his name being Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Yeah. What?
Well, it's no longer Tyler Mane as Sabretooth. It's Liev Schreiber. Yeah. It's Danny Houston as Stryker rather than who's that actor? I always forget his name, but it's Danny Houston this time. Yeah. So what's your guys' history with this?
Honestly, I kind of like the new Sabretooth over.
Oh, Liev Schreiber.
Yeah, I like him.
He's got a lot more personality.
Yeah, he has
than
more
Tyler
personality,
Mane.
and also I think So, like we were joking around that all the films have just been about Wolverine and stuff. It is kind of cool to see a little bit more. I mean, and with Wolverine? The plans of his origins.
Yeah.
The first half of this film is good, in my opinion. Okay. I think it works well.
Okay. I like the opening of the film.
Well, no, that's the thing.
Wars.
I like the opening with understanding who Logan is. Yeah. Also, I like seeing how his trauma within handling within Strike Force and how he works as a player within that, and also his relationship with his brother. But then when we get along with this whole other bullshit towards the second half, it gets a little not only drawn out, but like I don't know how can I say this without being like, but like how can a comic book film feel like not real? You know, like how?
I'll tell you how.
You know,
because their goal here, the movie is all over the place tonally.
Yeah.
For one thing, because at some points they're like trying to make Rambo, they're trying to make a Schwarzenegger film like Commando. Then they're making like comedy, like they're like pratfalls and shit. Like the scene with the Blob where he's like fighting him in the boxing ring is from a completely different film. Like honestly, it's from a completely different film. It doesn't belong in this movie where things are getting really dark. There are murders happening, and then he's like, "I didn't call him Bob."
Yeah, those poor old couple just gunned down in her own
Ma and Pa
home.
Kent.
Yeah. And then also Gambit being shafted as well.
Oh my god, dude!
I was like, no, Gambit. He he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
He gonna have an asshole moment, but not that much of an asshole.
Well, what you're talking about with Gambit is kind of emblematic of the film, where this wasn't made by filmmakers. Like, this was made.
Like, where's Rogue?
Well, they're looking at this
relationship?
like they're looking at this like it's an opportunity to sell toys.
Yeah.
Very much like Batman and Robin, and from '97. Very much like Nicolas Cage's Superman
I would
Lives.
like a bet credit card,
dude.
please.
It's to sell toys at this point. You know, like that's why they're putting in all these random mutants in there.
Get the fuck out!
that was '89, bitch. But that's what's really disappointing about this. I think this is the most cynical of the films.
Yeah.
In terms of of how it was made, why it was made, who made it, and everything. And God help Hugh Jackman, because he's trying in the film. Like
he's carrying that whole fucking thing.
He really is.
He's
man.
carrying the whole fucking film.
He really is.
I like
but
that-
he can't do it.
Look,
you know?
I like that little scene where he just like slashes the floor.
When was that?
When he takes down the helicopter.
And he's like on the
smokes a cigar
motorcycle. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, again, it's like they're trying to make at some point like an '80s action movie where he's like, oh, I'm on the people who did me wrong, you know, like, but. I am so when watching this film on my most recent rewatch, I am an agnostic, okay? I was thanking the Lord that Logan exists, okay? Because that is a movie that's consistent. It's the movie we deserved back then when this film came out. First of all, rated R. Not pandering.
Thank God.
A film.
Thank God.
A film
that takes chances.
Cinema.
It takes balls.
Claws. Claws on my balls. You know?
Oh God.
Literal balls.
Logan's goated.
This movie.
Such a great film.
This movie is sad that it exists the way it does. Yeah.
And we all know the worst part of it, right?
Before we get there.
Oh, okay. Before we get to that,
I want to bring up.
I knew how to shut you up, Wade.
I forgot to bring this up in the Last Stand conversation, but the opening scene of that film, where we see the de-aged Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, that CGI actually looks really good. Still, I think the de-aging for Patrick Stewart in this film is disgusting. It is nasty. It looks like his face is about to flop off. I've seen better things, better effects, better graphics in Mass Effect.
All right, you shut the fuck up. All right, enough. You be quiet. You. Mass Effect is good. I will not stand here. I will not sit here
for
Mass Effect. I will not sit here with Mass Effect slander.
I've seen better graphics in Heavy Rain.
Fair.
Thank you.
Beyond Two Souls. Sean. I wish Ubisoft made an X-Men game.
Putting together a special team with special privileges. Join me, but you will have your revenge.
I want new ones.
Let's talk about this film. Weapon 11. Deadpool. Like by Ryan Reynolds. First off,
Weapon 11, not Deadpool.
I want to give Ryan Reynolds the biggest props that I possibly can for putting himself through this. Because he was under a deal of that, I don't really want to do Deadpool. This is not Deadpool. He was a fan. He was sent... I think it was back when he was in Blade Trinity. He was sent copies of the books of Deadpool and everything. And they made a joke in the books about how Deadpool's face looked like Ryan Reynolds crossed with a Shar-Pei, right? And he was sold on that point. And he was like, I want to make that film. I want to be that character. Because he's always been a really funny guy. He's always been a draw. He's always been really cool. Yeah. And a good action guy. And he signs up to play Deadpool in this film, and then he sees what happens, and he's like, what the fuck is this? I don't want to do this. But Fox pretty much threatens him and says, if you don't do it here, there's no way you're going to play Deadpool in a film. Ever. Like, that's not happening. We're going to get someone else who will do it, who will put through our bullshit. So I want to give the biggest props to Ryan Reynolds for making a great thing out of a really terrible situation, because it paid off. Obviously, it paid off.
Yeah, no, thank God he's still here.
Yeah,
and made these Deadpool films.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, I am so grateful that this movie exists. This terrible fucking movie exists. I'm so grateful that they disrespected Deadpool to that point, because now
to go back,
he came back with a vengeance.
He came back with a vengeance, and they got it down. He got it down. I'm gonna say primarily Reynolds. I mean, people like Tim Miller and Sean Levy and the director of the second film, big props also. But Ryan Reynolds has been carrying the flag since the early 2000s of this character. So, guys, I want to talk to you about the disrespect of Deadpool in this film.
He's the merc with the mouth, and
here, come to the mic.
He was the merc with the mouth who then got his fucking mouth shut and then got brainwashed. Deadpool doesn't get brainwashed. What the fuck,
Brian?
Why?
Mass Effect.
As a kid, I didn't know who Deadpool was.
Yeah.
Watching this, I was like, all right, this is some new enemy.
It's Baraka.
It's it's Baraka. It's
yeah, he was Baraka.
Baraka.
He was Baraka,
without
dude.
any mouth. You know?
How the fuck did he get swords in his arms?
You're a nurse, Miles. How does that work?
I don't fucking know. He basically mimicked fucking Wolverine. I don't know
With
how.
Swords.
And like in the beginning start of it, he was doing his fucking twirling sword thing, cutting fucking bullets. I'm like, fuck yes, there we go.
There's something.
Yeah, there's at least something.
Okay.
Yeah, now knowing who he was,
yeah,
I'm like, oh my god, what did they do? Why would anyone with a brain, with a soul, with a heart, would be like, yeah, this is a good idea?
Now I'm gonna explain something to you, Brian.
Yes.
Okay, this is for X-Men fans.
I swear to God, if you say the prequels or Mass Effect, I'm leaving this room.
Okay, when you leave, mind the camera. But this is for X-Men fans, the Metachlorians.
Oh my god!
This is.
The Metachlorians make sense.
I'm cutting that out. Yeah, no, the fact that they just stuff a bunch of powers into him.
Yeah,
you know.
Wait, how long do they have until like? Between like when he went on the mission to...
It was like 6 years, I think. Like it's set in the mid-70s.
Give him laser eyes.
The late 70s.
Make him Homelander.
Like pretty much, they make him a Homelander. They make him Cyclops. They make him Nightcrawler. They make him... I'm surprised they didn't make him fucking Apocalypse up in this bitch. You know,
know,
like might as well.
My children.
Rip off Superman.
They made
my
him...
children.
They made him... Okay?
Everyone.
They made him... Web Weaver from The Boys, okay? That's what he was. It was disgusting, okay? But I couldn't believe it. It was a literal video game at the end where they're going up to the top of the
and they made the video game, and they have
and it's better than the film, the game.
I heard of that fucking level when you have to fight fucking Deadpool was one of the toughest fucking levels.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I don't know what coked out bastard at Fox decided, hey, let's make a character that it has nothing to do with the actual character. Let's get someone great like Ryan Reynolds who has incredible comedic timing and is just a real, like obviously real quick guy, you know? And sew his fucking mouth shut. And by the way, well, Justin, before I move on, what do you want to say about Deadpool in this film?
It's a fucking disgrace.
Thank you. All right. Oh shit.
That was Deadpool. That was his.
Here's the thing. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You're into guns.
I love them.
You're a nurse. How the fuck do you get rid of the memory of a guy coated in adamantium with an adamantium fucking bullet? How the fuck does that work?
Doesn't.
Okay.
I mean, that would be fucking... Think about how you would have to melt adamantium too.
You have to keep it... they say in the second film you have to keep it constantly hot, right?
Yeah.
But how you...
But one metal cannot cancel out the other metal.
Right.
Of the same. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like, does it clash with it? Or...
It would just... I mean, I like the way they handle it in... Logan versus this film, but it gets stuck in there. It's just like, oh, I don't.
Well,
who am I?
Yeah, no.
What are these claws?
If it got stuck, I can understand it getting stuck in there, but it wouldn't get through the skull, would it? If they're both the same material,
I don't think so. Wouldn't it just bounce off?
Yeah. Well, not bounce off. All right, so like
it would dent.
So like when people go shooting and stuff like that, depending on what type of Kevlar you're wearing, certain Kevlar can like go and withstand certain bullets. So like if you're wearing a basic Kevlar, that could withstand 9mm to 22, and those are like pretty lower.
Yeah, what kind of gun? What kind of like they just had a regular pistol?
It was a revolver.
Yeah, it's a regular revolver, and a revolver. I mean, revolver literally will shoot through a log. It will shoot through a log, you know, and a log's pretty fucking dense, but depending on what bullet you're shooting
generous
through,
using my nickname for it.
Shut up. Wow, thanks.
Thank you.
Depending on what you're shooting at, and also from the distance, I mean, no, it's not going to get lodged in if it's the same fucking material. If it's the same fucking material, it's either that bullet's breaking instantly,
when it's hitting the same surface,
or bouncing off, as in, you know, like not getting stuck in the same fucking material.
I would have thought it would like ricochet or something like because they're both in
no, it's in there. It's in there. You see it like when the
does it just get stuck in there? Or something like?
And it. I mean, Stryker had incredible like dead shot aim to get his.
Think about it like this: a diamond cannot cut through a diamond. You know, diamonds cannot cancel. No, they can't cancel.
It can.
No, they can't.
I saw Emma Frost do it.
Julius, stop. The diamond cannot cut through a diamond. Only a thing that is stronger than a diamond can cut through a diamond.
Like
so how
adamantium?
The fuck does exactly? But how the hell does adamantium get stuck in adamantium?
It should have been vibranium. Bro.
Should have been vibranium. What's the
from a nurse's
Wakanada?
From a nurse's perspective, I mean,
how would you treat Wolverine?
You can't, I mean, he heals on his own, so I mean, I don't know how.
So you just watch him.
I mean, you gotta observe him and make sure he doesn't.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, he can heal himself from practically anything. So his skull can't go back in place and push out the fucking bullet.
I guess not. It's stuck in there.
It's adamantium.
Like, it would have
like popped out.
Yeah, or just like now that's I guess fused into his fucking skull, but it wouldn't go through his fucking skull.
I guess they had to memory wipe him some way.
Also, his memory is that sensitive that it's like the boys with translucent. Like the inside of him is so weak that it could be entirely messed up. But I mean, that doesn't.
Speaking of it reminds me of that new character on The Boys. The what's her name?
Firecracker.
Sister Sage.
Sister Sage. Oh god.
I mean, have you seen The Boys?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
A frontal lobotomy.
Lobotomy, yeah.
And I don't have to be myself for a couple hours.
For a couple hours.
That's Wolverine talking to Jean.
Yeah. Oh god.
Disgusting.
Now, and that makes sense because, like, I mean, she can, but also even that too. You gotta think about like, how can she instantly heal from that too and stuff like that, you know? But I mean, I guess she has the powers in order to heal that. So then, hence, why couldn't Wolverine survive a bullet through the skull that's made out of his same old material?
My man survived Hiroshima.
My man, yeah, he survived Hiroshima. He survived a buckshot to the chest.
Yeah.
This man survived. He almost survived the log through the back of his back.
Yeah.
But like,
he survived the adamantium infusion.
Yeah,
that could have killed him too.
That did kill him actually, and he came.
Then he came back.
That's right.
With the vengeance.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll stop him.
We just spent $500 million making him indestructible.
And it was just like
naked.
This movie is disgusting.
No. Yeah. It was like I can understand if like you can probably lose some amnesia. It's like, I think I've heard that some people have survived gunshots too.
Oh yeah, they have.
And
just look at 50 Cent.
Exactly.
I like, and there's like a part of your skull that's like the strongest part.
Oh yeah,
that you could possibly
do. If you get shot here,
in between the eyes,
yeah, it's like
the bridge of
the bridge, like the top bridge.
Yeah, you have the highest chance of surviving a straight bullet shot to your skull.
Yeah,
depending on the bullet.
But I'm also wondering again, how fucking far was
he?
How it's the
he was right. He was right there. He was jumping right at him. So he was not only close, he was coming at him. So he was accelerated. while running towards or jumping towards Stryker.
Oh, so you're
in the
basically
air.
saying this is what happens when an unstoppable force meets
It's an immovable object.
Oh, you're right. This movie's genius.
This is great writing. Whoever wrote
cinema. Fuck Logan. That's what I thought after
Harvey
X-Men
Weinstein. Great.
There's the blob right there.
If he was able to survive, like getting shot in the head, like with Deadpool, like if he was able to get shot in the head and still remember everything.
Yeah. Careful. You good?
What prevents him from?
Oh my gosh! Careful. Yeah. Just.
Yeah.
Okay.
What prevents him from remembering everything else?
Let me tell you. I'll tell you exactly what beats adamantium bullets. This fucking script. This lack of script. This lack of care and respect for the character of Wolverine.
I thought you were gonna say
this lack of respect for cinema.
I thought you were gonna say it was Mass Effect.
Mass Effect. They should have had adamantium bullets in Mass Effect. I would have liked the game then. No, I'm joking. It's all right.
It's a good game. As long as you admit it's a good game, I'm happy with it.
If it had adamantium bullets, I think we could both agree that it would be
the best game.
It's
got blue titties.
It would dethrone Kingdom Hearts.
You need to stop with that.
All right,
I can't believe you
guys.
fucking said that.
You even know how to kill me.
I'm gonna cut your head off. See if that works.
Guys, I think we went through a lot of catharsis beating the shit out of this film.
Oh yeah.
Because, really, I mean, I'm glad it exists because of where we are now. Historically, it's a discovery, really, to get comic book films. I had no idea they could get this bad.
Low, and now that we've hit the bottom right
It's
here,
like
we can
the
go back up.
Catwoman and Daredevil of equal bad.
No, it is.
The
It's
Daredevil,
down there.
it's like the Daredevil of.
And at least Catwoman was nice to look at.
This is on, for me. This might be extreme, but this is on the level of something like Batman and Robin from '97 with Clooney and Chris O'Donnell. Like this really is down there. If Schwarzenegger were in here as Omega Red, that would be sick. No, that would actually be pretty dope. Schwarzenegger as Omega Red.
No, actually, yeah. I can think of with the fucking the tentacle.
I'm Omega Red.
That would be. They should have done that. This would have been the best
Should
film
have
ever
had
made.
him as the father from the Christmas movie, and him dressed up as.
This movie, this is Wolverine neutered. We see that when he gets the adamantium. Yeah. Remember in X-Men 2 when we see only flashes of him, and he has the claws in his hands, and he's blooded up, and he's like yelling, he's scared, he's like freaked out. We deserve that. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, I feel better.
All right,
I'm gonna get another drink.
Go get another. Justin, why don't you take Brian's place?
Sure.
Miles, you want to take a break? We're gonna talk about First Class.
Okay, yeah, I was like, go over here.
Okay.
Oh God, yeah.
Justin, get over here.
Yeah, sure. Let me get in there.
Eric.
You have the chance to become part of something much bigger than yourself. What do you know about me? Everything.
Justin.
First Class.
It's time to talk about one of my favorite X-Men films, actually. Especially after the two that preceded it.
You mean the two that were really fucked up?
Yeah. The insults, as I call them.
Okay.
X-Men First Class. Which as was brought up earlier, they were trying to do X-Men Origins as kind of a sub-brand within X-Men, right? They weren't going to make X-Men Origins Magneto, right?
No, yeah, they weren't.
They weren't. So they kind of
abandoned
incorporate it here, right? That whole origin story for not only Magneto, but also Professor X, and the whole idea of the X-Men. And this is a period piece also. It's set during the 60s and everything. So what do you think of the concept of First Class being set during not only the 60s, but the Cuban Missile Crisis? You get to see these characters younger.
Cuban Missile Crisis.
To tell you the truth, I really like it primarily because we get to see and get to know both Charles and Eric, before they become their, prominent roles within like this universe.
Yeah. Well, Brian, what about you? What are you thinking? Because this is a historical film dealing in a very specific point of history.
Oh, yeah.
The U.S. is putting military in Turkey at this point, upsetting Russia. Russia's putting their nukes in Cuba. Yeah, exactly. So what do you think about it? And you gotta get real close to Justin.
Oh yeah. So I love this film. I watched this film before I was a history major, and rewatching again, it's still enjoyable. I mean, the only thing that's inaccurate is mutants. But yeah,
JFK was a mutant.
Honestly, no, this is a good film. I also love the stark contrast. I don't know if you guys talked about this yet, but the stark contrast between both Magneto's and Xavier's lifestyle. With one of them coming from poverty, coming from like a downtrodden like survivor, and the other one
in a concentration camp.
Yeah, and then the other one coming from a side of extreme wealth and class. And you couldn't even look at that as a sense of like how people believing in different systems of like capitalism and communism, and who was in favor for which systems around that time. And that's what the Cold War was really looking about, the battles of Ho Chi Minh with America, battles between the Russians, and don't forget you have the Berlin Wall.
Yeah. Well, you have you made a great point about the opening of the film specifically. I love that we talked about this earlier, but they recreate the opening from the original film, where you see Magneto as a child being ripped away from his parents in Auschwitz. And for one thing, I love that they homage the first film in that way.
Oh yeah.
And but then you cut from there to the mansion in Westchester with Xavier and his family, and you see the stark difference. You understand the characters completely there, because in that film, Eric is being ripped away from his family, and you see in the mansion Xavier's kind of creating a family with Mystique, and it's like night and day in terms of the tones of both scenes. And they work really well together, They, especially because they're so contrasted, I love that.
You could say, right?
Yeah.
That Magneto lost his family, hence he was creating an environment for a new family, right? But with Xavier, he has a family, but he's making room and accessibility for people who have no family. Which works well to why he meets Magneto. He is someone who has no family, someone who has no one in this world, and they work together as brothers. They say that multiple times in the film because they truly love each other. It's just the division of power, and when it shows when all the world is at them, that's when Magneto's like, oh fuck,
Yeah. Well, what do you think of Justin? What do you think of the idea of this movie being about both of them showing their differences and like pushing them together, but where it's going to end up? Like, what do you think of that?
It shows their human side,
right?
Like it just shows like, hey, these guys, they're more human than everyone else that is human.
Yeah. So like the contempt that humanity has for the mutants is kind of ridiculous, because at the end of the day they are people.
Yeah.
Which is brought up in the film plenty of times, because mutants are only kind of a rumor at this point in the 60s. Like, people don't know them.
But then the existence is, revealed.
Revealed, yeah. It's like it's revealed to the government in this film, and then I love that in Days of Future Past it's revealed to humanity, to the public, exactly.
Peter Dinklage, I would vote for him.
Right, yeah, I know you would. You're going to. And I love the formation of the team here. This movie obviously has a lot of camp to it, in a way that's fitting of the time. They were inspired a lot by James Bond films in this film, especially with the Magneto character. Seeing him in Argentina hunting down Nazis and shit like that. That's a Bond film right there.
Oh yeah,
it feels like James Bond. Like Michael Fassbender would be a perfect James Bond.
Oh yeah, totally.
And
the fact that he's not is fucking criminal.
We'll see it. If it happens, I don't know.
Or Idris Elba.
Or that should have happened a while ago. Yeah. But I love that this film is very stylized. What did you think of this movie's feel? Because it's obviously very different from all the other films. In terms of tone, the way they're coming across as a team. What do you think of that?
First, Justin.
To tell you the truth, it's a really good beginning, especially when they're gathering more mutants.
Yeah,
and then those mutants when they're exposed, you could see that like, hey, you know what? I thought I was alone. It looks like I'm not alone. There's more people like me.
Yeah,
obviously not with the same abilities, but
yeah,
people that are unique in my own way.
Yeah.
Like, okay, getting a little bit X-rated. Remember what? Remember?
X-rated.
Oh God.
X-Force rated.
Like, remember the scene with the stripper? She like,
Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, there you go,
Angel.
Zoe Kravitz. When she is in there with Charles and Eric, she just assumed, okay, I'm just giving another lap dance for these guys. But then she sees, hey, what the hell? These guys are like me, and then she's like, oh well, my turn. And then we see the pixie shit. I'm just like, oh great, it's a fucking pixie.
And you were turned on.
No, I wasn't.
I was.
Brian was.
No.
That's the closest to a goth baddie that Brian could see in the film.
You know what would be funny if they were like, all right, we didn't come and hire you. Strip.
We didn't mean your powers. Yeah, that's if you were like Xavier. You just read into people's minds, violating their fantasies.
But then they randomly put in fucking Havoc. And then I'm just wondering, like, wait, is this X-Men or is this fucking X Factor?
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like they're being a little different. They're adapting the First Class in a way that fits the larger universe.
Darwin. Yeah.
You know, we'll get to that. We'll get to that because obviously the First Class in the comic books is Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, Angel, and Beast. You know, they weren't going to do that, especially if it is set in the '60s at this point. So they retrofit it. They bring in Mystique as one of the original members. They bring in Havoc, Banshee, which was really cool to see Banshee up in there.
It was cool to see Banshee.
Darwin, which kind of got the shaft up in here.
Which would have been amazing.
Yeah,
But then they killed him off.
Yeah, we
in a ridiculous way.
Steve Jobs, the villain, coming out of here. I am the fire. I can
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon
as Sebastian Shaw. Who? Are you gonna be a slave?
Hey, adapt to this.
Well, see,
if he wanted to do that, he could have just been like fucking Green Goblin and said, "Back to formula."
You ready for this?
Let's find out.
Well, what did you guys think of the team? That team. Xavier, Magneto, Mystique, Havoc, Banshee, Beast.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, both Eric and Charles, like they, took a moment to really understand all of them, including their powers, and really, did everything that they could to encourage them. Especially that scene with Eric and Charles, when Charles goes inside Eric's head and he sees the candles being lit and stuff like that.
That's my favorite scene.
Like he basically says, Eric, you're not so much of a monster that you think. You have real emotions that just everyone else has. Okay, try to be at least show a little bit of your human side. Show your vulnerability a little bit. That's what makes you more powerful, and that's something that you want to refrain from.
That's how you control the powers. That point between anger and serenity. Yeah, which that scene is wonderful.
That's a beautiful fucking scene.
They're lighting the menorah in his mind and everything, and and also James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, also as young versions of these characters, are in terms of casting on the level of Sir Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
They're on the level.
You completely buy it, like that they could grow up into those versions of the characters.
Totally can,
Unfortunately, as the movies continue, they don't age.
Unfortunately,
it's the series where this section of the X-Men franchise is and they never age. Dude, it's a little funny there, but those guys are incredible. They sold it in this first movie.
Oh yeah,
as their roles. Fassbender was born to play this role.
Oh yeah.
I want to ask you guys. This is related to the movie, but also to the MCU because we're kind of getting there with Deadpool and Wolverine, but. At some point, they're going to bring the X-Men into the MCU, in the main timeline, right?
Oh, yeah.
They will be incorporated into the canon.
Kind of somewhat Marvel, but let's ignore that.
What do you mean?
Well, they identified as What was her name? Kamala? Or
Oh, Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel as part mutant.
Well, yeah, the mutants are a thing, but what I mean is the X-Men themselves. The characters will be incorporated. They'll be incorporated at some point. And here's the thing. I'm curious what you guys think. They brought back J. Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons, in the main MCU, right?
Oh yeah, they did.
Would you?
Spider-Man's a terrorist.
Would you mind, or would you be down if they had McAvoy and Fassbender as the MCU's X and Magneto?
I'll take it.
In the same way as like J.K. Simmons as
Honestly,
J. Jonah Jameson.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it. Because you know what? If anything they could do, I mean, ever since they did the multiverse stuff, and you know, I've told you, I've kind of really hella lost interest in anything because it's just kind of feel like if anyone dies, it doesn't really matter because they'll just retcon and bring someone else back.
Yeah.
So if they bring them in as the main MCU, like the primary universe, that's fine. Because then if they wanted to, they could just bring back the original to like for another universe. I mean, they already brought back the original Xavier for
multiverse.
For multiverse, yeah.
Well, I mean, like in the main timeline, right? The sacred timeline, as it were. I would actually be okay if it was Fassbender and McAvoy because they're really good in the roles.
Yeah,
first
they
of all.
embody it really well.
Yeah, and they didn't have that send off. You know, that Stewart and McKellen had, you know, with Dark Phoenix. Yeah, it just kind of ends in Dark Phoenix. And I would be totally okay if they really encapsulated like the comic book versions of those characters because their performances warranted all the way back to this film with First Class. Like you buy it completely. Justin, what do you think? Do you want to kind of elaborate on it?
To tell you the truth, I wouldn't mind, like, at all. However, I wouldn't mind, like, if we got like some new talent to fill in fill in those shoes. Because to tell you the truth, don't get me wrong, like Fassbender and like those guys, they're good. Okay, they killed it the first two movies. Okay, but like
I think they kill it on all the movies. There.
Oh well, they did.
But some of the movies just suck. Go ahead.
But like, you know. Marvel, they have like a different agenda, like especially when they told Ryan Reynolds like don't bring in Hugh Jackman. Okay, no, don't. Like they want to try new like talent, and that's something I would. I kind of like.
He's singing in the rain, Ryan. Let him do his theater.
Let him do his theater.
Go back to Oklahoma.
Yeah, go to Oklahoma, man.
Which he's really good at Oklahoma.
He is. He's incredible. I'd be down with it, man. At this point, you know, there have been all sorts of, if Giancarlo cannot play Xavier, then I would prefer two guys who have played the roles before. And play like almost upgraded versions in the MCU. You know,
Giancarlo. Wait, really for Xavier?
Well, he was Giancarlo Esposito was like a fan favorite for Xavier. He wanted to play Xavier, but
honestly, I could see that.
But he's already playing someone else.
Unfortunately,
he's in Captain America: Brave New World as someone else who's undisclosed. So it's obviously not Xavier. So.
But I could see that.
No, I could. He could see it. You know, I'd be so down. But I would like these two just because they'd be older, for one thing.
I want El Pollo Loco to cross upon all mutants.
He goes up to Wolverine. Giancarlo's Xavier goes up to Wolverine and says, "You are simply bad product."
Simply bad product.
I do not like how you work. Your mutant came in here drugged up. I will not be working with you.
Well, First Class.
Starlight, you out of everyone else was the one I was most fond of.
Last words on First Class.
Homelander's just
shut the fuck up. By the way,
all he needs is
shut up, bub. Speaking of which, one of the best cameos in the X franchise. Hugh Jackman. No, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in this film.
Yeah.
His first time saying the F-bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Go fuck yourselves. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, amazing. Any last words on X-Men First Class before we move on?
It's a good film.
Yeah.
Very good. I mean, at first I feel like a lot of people were a little harsh with it because it was like such a big like change from the original ones and stuff like that. And this was when we were getting already into a little bit on understanding what the MCU was. And although it's not part of
it was just starting at that point.
Yeah. I think people were a little afraid that it was going to be too comical in the sense that it was going to lose its authenticity like the original hero films, like Iron Man, or within the other X-Men films and stuff like that. But it's good. And also, there's I want to say one last thing. I love the stylistic change of color. And
actually have some yellow up in there.
Yeah, because it honestly represents really well within both the time frame and the historical context.
Yeah.
I think I remember watching something on the DVD thing where they were explaining that those suits represent, like, I think it was supposed to be like pre-training for astronauts going into space around that time. That's the suits that they wear during those flight logs where they get hurled around for like 100-something miles.
Yeah.
That little thing. So I think that's a cool little reference with it. And also within the powers too, with everyone, it works well like a campy film because it's such 60s, 50s era of campiness superhero kind of thing.
It's great. It's just great. And Matthew Vaughn is one of those filmmakers who's very stylized, works really well, is constantly working, and has vision. You know, so that's what I love about this film is that there is a vision to it.
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing I'll say about the X-Men films as a franchise is that not all of them are perfect, but most of the time they've retained the director's vision for the characters, whereas something like DC you know has had a lot of trouble with that. You know, but the X-Men films a lot of the time stick to the types of films they are.
Yes, you do.
Well, Justin, any last words on First Class?
Let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
because I'm hyped for this one.
Okay, well then, Miles, you want to get on this one?
What's the last one?
The Wolverine.
The Wolverine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. Fuck.
Just a little hype for this one.
I've been trying to find you for over a year. It's an honor to meet the Wolverine.
Sit this one out. It'll just mean be me and Brian.
Oh, I'm ready.
Because I don't know what y'all are smoking.
I love.
I like this film.
I like this film.
Here, turn it towards you, my friend.
Honestly, Loki, this might be slander. I kind of like it better than Logan. Just back at it again. I'm like, let's play.
Here we are, ready to talk about
the Wolverine.
2013's The Wolverine.
Yes, love that film.
Another entry into the X-Men franchise.
Yes, if I look to the classic suit,
Wolverine 6.
Yes.
You know, technically Wolverine 2, Wolverine 6, and Wolverine 20. This movie is obviously
an homage to Wolverine because there was no film back at that point that had enough of Wolverine.
No movies have ever had Wolverine in the way that this movie had Wolverine. So they were continuing the franchise, and they knew that the best way to continue the franchise, kind of in this lull period, was to have films about Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
First Class was a big, probably not a big hit. It was kind of it was a good film that came out.
It was a good film, but just not a lot of traction.
Yeah, because you know, at that point, like we mentioned earlier on, Wolverine it was the face of the X-Men.
Oh yeah.
So the last film that had happened, well, the last film being X-Men Origins Wolverine, kind of messed them up a bit, which is when they brought in James Mangold, who was a director who had done things like 3:10 to Yuma, westerns, you know.
Oh yeah.
They brought him in to bring this film a new light, a new context of the character. And they adapted the classic Chris Claremont, Frank Miller story where he goes to Japan and brought it to the films pretty much. And they were trying to establish Wolverine as kind of obviously a darker kind of Ronin rather than in the previous film, making him like this action Schwarzenegger type. And I enjoyed this film when it came out. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought it achieved that darkness that it needed to for a PG-13 film still. But you can kind of see, especially with the benefit of hindsight, this film being one more step towards something like Deadpool, towards something like Logan, you know? So when Wolverine came out, what did you think about it, Brian?
So when I first heard about the film, I really didn't really know a whole lot of the context. So I was just like, okay, he's going to Japan. That's sick. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really think much of it, and then watching the film, I love the story, and I love how it's all interconnected a little bit more to his past, and it is a continuation of Origins in a way, but it's definitely more of looking into his psyche, into his physicality of like, we can cure you and we can help you die, we can help you really become who you really want, and that's always been an issue within kind of all of the X-Men films or Wolverine films per se. If looking at Logan and his humanity, and that's why Logan works so well, because it finally acknowledges him as a human, and finally acknowledges not even as a human but him as himself, you know?
Yeah. Well,
and so Wolverine definitely is that step to looking into that. It's one last final bastion of a true Wolverine film where we see him being Wolverine. It's all straight up about him, all about his history, all about his past, all about his future, and all about his eventual demise in the later film.
Well, the movie picks up after the events of The Last Stand, where he killed Jean Grey to save the world and everything, and he's obviously in mourning, and it's kind of similar to how X-Men: The Last Stand opens up with Cyclops, you know, where you see him in this depressed mode where he doesn't want to be part of the adventure. But he's called to it because of what happens in that opening scene of Hiroshima. And one thing I really like about this film is how brutal it gets. You know, the violence is depicted intensely better than in the Wolverine Origins film. It's not as comical. They deal with actual stakes in it. There's not as much blood as I would like, but I understand why. I understand why, you know. But the action is just brutal enough.
Yeah.
What they did to me, what I am, can't be undone.
It's a good feeling to know that they're getting to the perfection of the actual rated R rating, but until then, it's kind of like, it's a good film for anyone to kind of like get into it, no matter what age and stuff like that, without having to I feel like kids and teenagers, they can handle it, especially with what the fuck they're watching nowadays and stuff like that. I'd rather them watch that than some skibbity toilet bullshit. But
the boys.
But it's definitely it's definitely it's understanding how far to reach into that PG-13 market.
Yeah, well, and also the whole idea of this movie, where Wolverine is dealing with his past in a very different way than beforehand, because he's always dealing with the idea of, I don't know what my past is.
Yeah.
But here he's dealing kind of with the consequences of his past in saving someone. You know? Which is really unique with the character, because it's usually like, I killed this guy, I did this to this person and everything. Here,
if anything,
I saved
it kind
someone.
of almost reads like a video game. A video game like Mass Effect.
Or, well, I would say more so The Last of Us, I think. This is more aligned with something like The Last of Us.
I guess actually, because, well, the only reason why I bring up Mass Effect as a joke, I can't as a joke, because I can't help it. But also, like, in Mass Effect and a lot of those like strategy games, whatever choices you make, even no matter if it is morally the best choice, there's always going to be a consequence that comes after. Even for the people that you save, they'll fucking kill you in the next game. And it's just like, you motherfucker, I should have let you die. I should just let you die.
You suck. Shepard does not like this. Logan. The movie, I like a lot of it up until the very last battle, I think, where they feel like they have to become this big CGI comic book thing.
Yeah.
You know, I love the Silver Samurai from the comic books, where he is a mutant, where he deals with he has this power to vibrate his sword to the point where it can cut through anything. Like his sword is filled with so much energy that it can cut through anything. Yeah. And throughout the original run, Wolverine learns to become a samurai, you know, and goes on all these adventures in Japan. And it's set in the 80s specifically, so it's obviously a very different book than what this turned out to be.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish they went more in that direction, because I love the scene where he fights the father, you know, in their house in the Yoshida household. I thought that was really cool. That could have been, you know, the final battle for me. You know, just maybe a little bit more heightened. But yeah, the very end is kind of where it falls apart for me a little bit. But I love. This is where I think Hugh Jackman is at one of his best performances.
No,
you know, because you can see him. Yeah. This is the first time I saw him as a war veteran.
Yeah, no, totally, yeah. Well, honestly, I with a little bit of origins and stuff like that. Well, actually, no, you're right. This is the first film where we actually do see the consequences of him with his past, with him
that
living
vibe,
so
right?
long,
Yeah.
with him being a veteran of World War II. You know?
Yeah, especially with when you see the bomb drop in Hiroshima.
Oh yeah,
where
that's a really cool, powerful scene. Right
it is.
There, you know,
it's I saw it like I saw in Oppenheimer. They would cut to that scene. Did you see that? You know, it just went right from there to the Wolverine.
It went from that with Florence Pugh. You know,
you could watch Oppenheimer and then double feature it with actually triple feature the Wolverine and Godzilla -1.
Oh my god, I still have not seen that movie and I need to see it now.
It's on Netflix.
I know it is. I know. No, my grandma, she introduced me to Godzilla, so I had to find a day to like schedule out where I watch it with my grandma. You know. Oh no, I love Godzilla. As a Godzilla fan, it's a crime that I haven't seen it yet.
You're Juggernaut.
Oh, the Juggernaut, bitch!
Well, what do you think of the tone here? Because it's obviously like a drastic. It's contrasted.
Oh yeah.
From Wolverine, the Wolverine we've seen to that point.
Oh yeah.
You know, like it's a lot more harder edge. He's a lot more like, oh fuck you, I don't want to do this shit, bub. Like, what do you think of that type of Wolverine, where he is more mature and he's less like, he's an asshole, but he's like proper Wolverine asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love the change. I mean, as a kid, you like a little bit more of the comical sense because you're just a kid. As an adult, you kind of relate. I mean, you still like it, but it just depends on how it's written, you know? Yeah. You want something that's nice and fun, but not too cheeky, where it's like, all right, this is made for like a child, you know?
Yeah.
So it's definitely nice to have that bit of change. Also, like, just to like reference another shit that I also loved that was kind of a bit similar but like way different was Batman and the Ronin, where I think it was a DC animation film where Batman gets transported to feudal Japan.
Oh yeah, Batman Ninja.
Yeah, and that movie's good, but it's different because it's not a serious Batman film. It's definitely a much more drawn out, funny film, but it works well. You know, like you would never imagine that would work out well. So it's very similar with this, where it's both. There's just something about samurai, like something about having your character introduced with an honor within the aspects of feudal Japan. There's just something that brings something new that works with your characters, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah. This was a much needed like palate cleanser for the character.
Immensely, yeah.
You know?
And it's so apropos to call it the Wolverine.
Yeah.
You know, even after you could argue all the X-Men films are about the Wolverine and origins Wolverine, this film is the Wolverine, and it clearly states that within because it's letting you know this film should be the basis of what Wolverine should always be.
The Wolverine.
Nothing less and nothing more.
The Wolverine.
The Wolverine.
The Batman.
The Batman.
The podcast.
Bumbling Cinema.
Bumbling Cinema. Hashtag.
The Skinwalkers.
What was I going to say?
The Defect Curators.
Shit, what was I going to say? Well, this is very much like, if we're looking at Wolverine and Logan later on, Wolverine is like a nice chocolate bar. Logan is Fudgy the Whale, all right? It's the whole deal.
Let's be honest. Logan is a beautiful pie. It's a beautiful chocolate pie. A little mascarpone on. It's perfect. It's nice. It's sweet. A little bit of saltiness. Wolverine, however, is brownies. It's just as good. It's amazing too. And it's really juicy, really amazing. But it's not the same, you know? A pie's whole and a pie leaves you satisfied. A brownie is an appetizer. It leaves you wanting more. And that's what the Wolverine is.
Man, Wolverine would cut your ass up if you compared him to brownies.
Oh, yeah.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Say it loud.
Why did you have to word it like that?
Like what? A brownie?
You said something pie and then something creamy.
Yeah, a little mascarpone, a little cream on top. A little cream on top.
A little bit of cinnamon.
I mean, dude, Justin, you don't put Cool Whip on your pie?
I mean, yes, I do.
I mean,
That's not the same
The man's black, he knows. No.
All right.
Not like Barack Obama.
You're exactly like him. Anyway, let's move on.
I'm cutting this whole part.
Let's move on. Real quick, we're gonna just talk about X-Men: Days of Future.
Oh wait,
Past.
we're done with Wolverine.
We're done with Wolverine.
Wait. Can I just say one last thing about Wolverine?
Yeah,
real
go
quick?
for it.
Love the little hint to the suit. That was awesome.
Dude,
that's awesome.
And now it's paying off.
Exactly.
Now,
Dude, come on,
my man. To transition us into part 2 of this series.
Yes.
X-Men: Days of Future
Yes,
Past.
such a great film.
Miles,
Yes.
we're talking Days of Future Past.
Oh yes.
Get into this.
So why don't you sit in my lap?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Actually, you can sit on my lap.
Oh, I'm good.
Oh shit.
You can sit on my lap.
Oh God.
Here, why don't you make some room for him over there, Justin?
Yeah.
Or Brian.
Of course.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful with the wire again.
I'll just be over here. Don't worry.
Okay, you got it. Well, when you talk, lean in.
All right, so is the wire good? Is the wire good?
Yeah, you're good.
Let me just say a few words to describe this.
Speak to the mic.
Let me just say a few words to describe this film. This film.
Wakanda forever.
Okay.
Ryan Gosling as Black Panther was amazing.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that, but also redeeming of every character that has ever played in the X-Men films.
Brian?
This is not only a time heist film, right?
It is a time heist film.
It is just pure excellence on not only Mystique's character, while her design did a little flop around this point in time and stuff like that. I would like her design to stay a little bit more true to a little bit more of the original X-Men films. But her character improving so much more better, understanding a lot more, and the finalizing of Magneto as a villain, more of Xavier's downfall from who he was, right, as a man, and him no longer wanting to do any of this bullshit. The Quicksilver scene,
oh
my God, just amazing.
Cinema.
Having Wolverine come back as a little fruitcake.
Those bone claws.
As something,
Oh,
as
careful,
like a
careful.
dessert, as like a tasteful little dessert.
You called Wolverine a fruit
I
cake.
did. I can't wait for Hugh Jackman to kick my ass.
You could literally like hear Chef Ramsay literally say like in that movie, delicious.
This is definitively, if not the X-Men film.
Miles? Come closer.
Thankfully, this film redeemed a lot of the stuff that was very much missed in the Last Stand and everything like that. It redeemed the kind of idea of what the X-Men are and who they should be. I'm glad about that. It's just so much better film than the third one. Than the third X film. So very happy about that. It's like for the whole characters.
Here, to wrap it up, what I'll say. This movie was. It's 10 years old now, but this movie was. This movie was the Infinity War before Infinity War. This movie is.
Honestly,
redemption. As Miles said, this movie is the redemption of this franchise. And it's cemented at the very opening when they play the theme from X-Men 2 at the very beginning to stamp, this is the fucking X-Men that you remember, and we're going to give them the justice that they deserve. Because you, the fans, have been put through hell. We're sorry. Let's make it up to you.
And kill every single one of them.
But then at the end, a happily ever after.
Yeah.
Happily ever after.
It's a good time heist film.
It is. This movie is great. Now, I'm going to leave you guys off for part 2 when we really get into it.
Of course.
Into the juicy discussion of this film.
Miles was hungry.
Juicy.
Miles needs a.
I'm also kind of
needs a stizzy.
IPs
He needs a glizzy. I want it, for the record, Miles, when he asked for fucking food, it was a glizzy.
Wait, really?
He wanted a glizzy.
I wanted, first of all,
You said hot dogs.
I want to taste your chicken, But I want to
a glizzy.
But I want to have a hot dog.
All right, gentlemen.
do cocaine on these.
July. Come on, we gotta have it.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna start.
Sorry,
I'm gonna start us off. Thank you guys for listening. Happy 4th of July. Happy X Month.
Happy X Month. Happy Wolverine Month.
Have a good one. Stay safe and goodbye.